Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Griffith Institute for Tourism, for the opportunity. I'm very happy to speak in front of you today to share about my studies findings. So my name is Devi, and I'm PhD student supervised by Professor Karin over there, and also Ying, Kathy, and Dharma. So, okay, next. So you might have heard about Bali, its beautiful nature, unique culture, and warm-hearted locals. The fame has been documented in a variety of media, including in books, movies, and social media. However, very little is actually known about Bali's recent condition over resource utilization, which is why I conduct my study. So there is a conflict over tourism resources. As you can see, the photo on my right shows farmers' opposition towards the growing sale of land to foreign owners. And the photo on my left shows the recent protests led by the community and customary village stakeholders due to the new luxury reclamation project. Okay, so in response, the Indonesian government increasingly promotes a program that can optimize resource utilization without undermining the environment and local cultural values. And this program is known as Desa Wisata, or translated as Tourism Village. This program has actually been started since 1992, with only 3 villages participating in that year. This year, the number is growing to more than 4,600 villages across Indonesia. However, the question is this program really well implemented? So I read the literature and I found that many literature described many tourism villages across Indonesia are still struggling in managing their workforces and managing their resources. My literature review study also found the same, that both challenges are present in most rural tourism destinations around the world. So this confirms that researching on resources and management are extremely important in rural tourism scholarship. So I conducted 2 studies. My first study involved semi-structured online interview because it was on pandemic, and my second study involved a 3-week field trip. And this is the research question that I would like to address. How can resources used for rural tourism be then re-evaluated and managed based on their various identified conflicts? And I used 2 case study sites, which they are both underrepresented cases in northern and eastern Bali. So case study 1 in Taro village, there was a social tension over the utilization of the non-locally infested Mason Elephant Park and between local communities and non-local investors. And case study 2 in Munduk village, there was a social tension over the use of sacred lake resources between local communities, customary village stakeholders, and tour guides. So these are the 2 studies that I conducted. And at the end, I also analyzed 5 official documents that relate to the Tourism Village program. So through thematic analysis, I have mapped the identified conflicts and the identified tourism resources. It might be simple, for example, turning agricultural land into tourist accommodation can cause conflict that relates to environmental degradation. And then the question now, how can we reevaluate resources better? I found that most participants, they most preferably use resources that relate to their local identity, indigeneity, and spirituality. And I refer this as localized resources. For example, participants prefer to develop or build eco-camping site instead of the luxury villa because according to them, this is more environmentally friendly and reflect to their rural identity. And they also emphasize the importance of customer regulations and spiritual beliefs. And they emphasize there is a benefit or spiritual benefit of turning the economic income to subsidize their ritual ceremonies. In my second study, I assessed further what are the resource management strategies, and I found there are 4. So for example, when I visited these bamboo forest attractions, I found that the tour guides, they explain or do storytelling about the myths of the forest, and they offer to me the creative experience of bamboo craft making activities. And they also mentioned that they involve all local communities to run their business. And still the land ownership belongs to the customary village stakeholders. However, when I compare between the two cases, I found that the customary involvement was found weaker in Munduk because most of the lands over there are not owned by the customary village stakeholders. So to promote conservation, they use different ways to appreciate resources, which is different reinterpretations. And I also assess whether there is an alignment between the practical implementation at the village with the national documents. Although they are mainly in line, I found only one difference. The communities perceive the objective to achieve Trihita Karana, and this is missing in the national plan. So what is Trihita Karana? So Trihita Karana is a spiritual concept or belief that promotes harmonious relationships relating to the environmental awareness, social relationship, and spiritual connections to supreme beings. This is somewhat comparable to other spiritual beliefs in South American countries, South African countries, and in Fiji. So what does my study contribute to practice? I would like to suggest that religious leaders and customary village stakeholders are mostly actively involved in the management, along with their beliefs and relevant traditions. And the identified strategies can also be useful to other tourism villages across Indonesia. And my study also added insights to two theories. So two theory of common pool resources. My studies added the shared religious understanding in addition to collective rules. And to theory of bricolage, my studies added the variations of different resource reinterpretation that depends on the village social context. So to conclude, I would like to emphasize three things. We can start to evaluate resources by not only dividing based on natural, cultural, or man-made resources. We can start to identify what are their value-added features and how well we can appreciate their local resources. And also, I would like to emphasize the importance of the intermingled resource management in spirituality, traditions, and governmental regulations. And at the end, I would like to emphasize the creative and conservationist use of resources that strongly promotes local involvement. At the end, 400 seconds might be not enough to explain everything, but all details have been published and soon to be published online, and this is publication thanks to my supervisor's support and gift support for the copy editing. And I'm looking forward to more research on rural tourism resources and management, especially expanding beyond Bali or Indonesia. Thank you for listening.